So, is there a role for AI in caring for children? And I'm going to use my 12 minutes or however long I might have in order to hopefully persuade you that the answer to that question is yes. I think there's definitely a role for AI in caring for children, just as increasingly there's become a role for AI in lots of parts of our lives. Dr. Cooper and I, Julie Cooper, will be on the panel after this, and I did a breakout session earlier, and we were really surprised to see the number of people, actually everyone in that breakout session, was using AI in some way in their life. So it's becoming more and more ubiquitous. And as we learn more about AI and what it can and shouldn't do, it can play a really key role in caring for children. Now, AI itself can cause some alarm bells to go off. It can be a little bit surprising. There's a lot of doomsday out there, and in some of those instances, it's appropriate. But every new tool, including AI, has sparked fear and resistance. Socrates and Plato argued about whether or not people should write things down because they were afraid that it would cause people to not have as great a memory that the oral tradition had supported. And it's true from the printing press, the radio, television, the internet. All of these technologies have at first met with fear, and in some cases, especially around the internet and AI, there are legitimate fears. But can you imagine the church without the tool of radio, or without the tool of television or the internet? These have become technologies that are redemptive in nature when the kingdom gets their hands on them, and is actually something that expands the kingdom. It's expanded the care for children, and AI is poised to do that at a scale that heretofore has been completely inaccessible and nearly unimaginable. Now, one of the things that we should be concerned about is the role that AI is taking in some corners to actually replace humans. Now, in a workflow to be efficient, that may or may not be a great thing, but in relationship, in caring for one another, AI should never replace a human to human interaction. This is an important step, especially if we're talking about the role of AI in caring for children. Children should be cared for by caring adults, and AI can work to support that relationship, not replace it. It should empower caregivers to care for children in effective, efficient, trauma informed ways. And for this audience, it should come as no surprise that there is a crisis in caregiving. The need is overwhelming. The workers are few, and the strength necessary with the complexities of what's going on in the world today for children, there is definitely a crisis in caregiving, and AI can play a role in helping to assuage or offset some of that crisis. It's highlighted really by half of the world's population of children have experienced trauma, abuse, neglect, abandonment, violence, sexual violence, refugeeism. 1 billion children on our planet have experienced trauma, and they are in need of a particular kind of intervention called trauma informed care. And that number can feel overwhelming, but it can also ignite a movement. And our hope is that that movement is ignited and that we can use tools like large language models to empower and equip such a movement to actually reach every single one of those 1 billion children. So that's our goal in focusing on in AI. That's a redemptive use of a new technology, is to be able to massively scale support for caregivers. And AI's promising effect is already being felt. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how Global Trauma Alliance has been able to do that, right? So the world now has access to revolutionary AI. It can speak any language. It can search the internet in real time. It can be embedded on any device currently in the pocket of nearly every person on the planet. It can mimic human empathy. We can create personas that can be adapted to culture or language for nearly every place on the planet. And AI can rapidly scale to anyone, anywhere. It has been the most rapidly accepted and advanced technology in the history of the world. Now, we need to be careful to engineer AI in a way that is ethical and helpful, especially in caregiving, right? So, by engineering AI, by having a focus on caregiving, we can deliver personalized, vetted trauma care coaching to anyone, anywhere, at any time in their first language on any device. As I mentioned, it can strengthen instead of replace human to human interaction, caregiver to child interaction. It can keep caregivers healthy and encouraged and in the game, if you will, through mental health, personal wellness, and coaching. And importantly, it can utilize a faith based, culturally adapted persona to deliver all of that. So we've done that. We've actually got Global Trauma Alliance, as part of Trauma Free World, has built a large language model AI called TICO, Trauma Informed Care Coach on Demand. And our initial users, we've run through several pilots at this point, and we've had several hundred users, and the users are thrilled. You can see some of their responses here. One thing that began to surprise us that I want to point out in these slides is the quote there in the blue down under the line there. And this is an important part for it. It's strengthening caregivers. It's not just giving them skill to be better caregivers, but actually strengthening them so they can stay in the game. The quote there says, "I often want to throw in the towel." Tico even asked how I was doing and gave me ideas on how to take care of myself. I needed that, right? And so a lot of really great trauma training includes this kind of aspect, self-care, personal wellness, because healthy caregivers are the key to helping kids become healthy. We got some great feedback about Tico, and I'm going to share some stats with you, not so much to promote Tico, although I'm glad to, but to really underscore this point that AI is at a point where it can help caregivers care for kids. 99% of our users would recommend Tico to another person. 85% said it exceeded their expectation. These two stats at the bottom were really important to us. Just in 2 weeks, the audience of our initial pilots, which were seasoned caregivers and expert trauma trainers, 42% of them said in just 2 weeks, it increased the positive interactions with the kids in their care. And half of them, 49%, said it increased their optimism in just 2 weeks. This is how AI can begin to strengthen and empower caregivers to help kids. This stat here, I'll unpack this a little bit for you. It's really much easier than it looks. The green line that goes from low on the left to high on the right is actually the role that AI can play to scale access to resources. Right now, currently, there are internet options, on-demand options, train the trainer options, but often they cost money, or they require a computer, or they require time, or they require you to remember what was taught and then apply it into your situation. AI can do all of that by actually taking all of that content and delivering it to a caregiver in a conversation right on time, right in the moment that they need it. And that makes for a massive scaling of trauma care resources to those who need them when they need them. And so you can see that line goes from a relatively small number in the lower left to a massive number in the upper right. Interestingly, because the cost of AI and technology continues to go down, the cost of these resources over time, which is the red dotted line, actually go down. The cost per beneficiary while the resource and access is scaling, the cost per beneficiary actually goes down. This is something that is rarely, if ever, seen in nonprofit ministry work, where we scale access, but the cost of that access decidedly decreases. But here's the question, the one that we struggle with. We have to shape AI well as we're working on um, scaling. It must empower people, as I've mentioned. It must be developed in a particular way where we're giving trauma-informed tools for every caregiver. The goal is at least one healthy adult in the life of every child. We know that trauma-informed care, that one healthy adult in the life of a child can make all of the difference in that child's life. So, is there a role for AI in caring for children? We absolutely believe that there is, and that that role will increase the number of adults who care for children. And I hope that that my conversation today has perhaps persuaded some of you or reinforced for some of you that AI is going to play and will play a careful and important role in caring for children. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.